Okay. He's being arrested for criminal impersonation and unlawful possession of a firearm.
I'm so confused right now.
What part is confusing?
This whole thing.
To become the city's most dedicated police officer, this man had to ensure he was never actually a cop at all. His entire reality was built on a foundation of service and authority, a reality that was about to collapse under the weight of a single routine inquiry. The confusion in his wife's voice was merely the first echo of a life built on a profound deception, one that had managed to fool his family, his neighbors, and for a time even the very officers he sought to emulate. It was a charade so elaborate, so detailed, that its unraveling would expose a story far stranger than any of the crimes he pretended to investigate. The story begins on a September evening at a Salvation Army center in Washington. A police officer arrived to follow up on a bizarre encounter from the previous night involving an unknown individual. There, he met 49-year-old Michael Scaletta. Scaletta presented a convincing picture of authority. He was dressed in a black polo shirt, tactical pants and gloves, and claimed to be a detective with the Edmonds Police Department, working a part-time security detail. To the officer, it seemed like a plausible, if slightly unusual scenario. Jurisdictional overlaps and off-duty work were common. Scaletta spoke with the confidence of a seasoned lawman, explaining that he had just returned to duty after a long absence due to a severe case of COVID, a detail that added a touch of mundane authenticity to his story. He was affable, cooperative, and seemed to understand the need for the officers to verify his presence. The initial interaction felt like a procedural formality, a simple misunderstanding that would be cleared up with a quick check of his credentials. But the first subtle cracks in his story began to appear almost immediately. When asked for his commission card, Scaletta claimed it was in another bag, located upstairs. It was a small delay, but a delay nonetheless. As the officers waited, they began to take a closer look. Scaletta wasn't just wearing tactical clothing. He was equipped with a firearm, a full-duty belt, and a vest adorned with multiple badges, including one that appeared to be for a SWAT team. The sheer amount of gear was excessive for a simple security job. His personal vehicle, a new Ford Explorer, was discovered to be outfitted with police-style blue lights. The officer's professional curiosity sharpened into genuine suspicion. An off-duty officer from another agency, working armed security, was one thing. An individual equipped for a tactical raid, with an emergency-rigged vehicle, operating in their jurisdiction without any official notification, was another matter entirely. The situation was escalating beyond a simple misunderstanding.
We're concerned he's impersonating police officers, not credentialed. Do you know for a fact that he's a police officer?
He followed through a couple calls last night.
That's the concern.
Okay.
So if he credentials out, well, this will all be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
The officers' protocols took over. For their safety, and to conduct a proper investigation, they informed Scaletta that he was being detained. He was placed in handcuffs, his weapon was secured, and he was informed that this was not an arrest, but a temporary measure, until his identity could be confirmed. Throughout this, Scaletta's composure began to fray. He expressed irritation, suggesting the officer's response was an overreaction that could have been handled differently. He maintained that he was a retired Baltimore City officer with 27 years of service, now working for Edmonds. His story, however, started to shift under the pressure of direct questioning. His claimed 2 years of service with Edmonds mysteriously became an 18-month contract, a small but significant inconsistency. The officers were no longer just verifying a claim, they were now investigating a potential fabrication. They had a man with a gun and a full tactical setup whose story was changing by the minute. The need for concrete answers became urgent. A call was placed to the Edmonds Police Department. The response from their dispatch was immediate, unequivocal, and devastating to Scaletta's entire narrative. They had no record of a Michael Scaletta. He was not on their payroll, not a reserve, not a detective. He was, to them, a complete stranger. In that moment, the entire carefully constructed persona of Detective Scaletta dissolved. He wasn't an officer from another jurisdiction, he was a civilian in a costume. The investigation then pivoted from confirming an identity to uncovering the depth of a lie. A background check was initiated, and the results provided a chilling context for the entire situation. The system returned a hit from 2015, a felony conviction in Washington, D.C. for a bomb hoax. This was the core truth that Scala had built his fantasy upon. As a convicted felon, he was legally prohibited from possessing a firearm, transforming the situation from simple impersonation to a serious felony offense.
He was involved in like a SWAT incident where he barricaded himself inside and had like a whole like threat of like blow the place up. So it was like a bomb threat. SWAT was involved.
Even when confronted with the official record of his conviction, Scaletta's denial was absolute. He insisted he had never been arrested, not once in his life. The lie was so ingrained that he refused to acknowledge the documented reality of his own past. The officer's investigation then expanded, canvassing the area for anyone who had interacted with him. The stories that emerged painted a picture of a man not just passively pretending, but actively playing the role of a cop with alarming audacity. The security manager at the Salvation Army confirmed that the previous night, during a response to a small fire, Scaletta had arrived on the scene in his Explorer and activated his unauthorized blue emergency lights, inserting himself into an official police matter and identifying himself as an Edmonds detective. He wasn't just dressing the part, he was acting it out on the streets. More witnesses came forward, each adding another layer to the deception. One man, whom Scaletta had questioned, recounted a particularly disturbing conversation.
Yeah, and then he said, then he started telling me about how he's going to have control of the narcotics department. He's going to be running some of you guys' units. He's been promoted, and he's moving up here this way.
Scaletta had boasted of an imminent promotion and his future role in running local narcotics units. He was weaving a fantasy of power and authority, positioning himself as a key player in the local law enforcement community. The witness also stated that during one of their last encounters, Scaletta was drunk while supposedly on duty, the smell of alcohol heavy on him. The impersonation was not just a passive hobby, it was an active, reckless performance that he carried out even while intoxicated, endangering everyone around him. The full scope of Scaletta's elaborate world-building was becoming clear. His wife's confusion on the phone was genuine. He had told her he was a reserve officer, a vague truth that hid the larger lie. After his arrest, she would call officers back to report a case full of firearms she discovered in his room. His ex-colleagues would later share chat logs, revealing a man who constantly portrayed himself as a dedicated officer, skipping dinners and sacrificing family time for emergency callouts that never happened. He even sent videos that appeared to show him responding to deadly emergencies. He had created a complete alternate reality where he was the hero he clearly wished to be. A reality sustained by a constant stream of lies to everyone he knew. He wasn't just impersonating a police officer. He was living a fictional life.
Do they release people, or are they like really strict on bonds or? Sorry?
What happens when we take people to King County Jail?
Well, this isn't King County. I'm just asking, how are the judges out here? Like, what's it like?
As he was transported to jail, the depth of his detachment from reality was on full display. He showed little remorse or concern for the gravity of his actions. Instead, he was preoccupied with the logistics of the system he was now caught in. He quizzed the officer about the booking process, the tendencies of local judges, and the likelihood of being released without bond. Having worked for the Seattle Police Department for 7 years, the officer knew the system well, but Scaletta's questions weren't those of a frightened man facing consequences, but of a professional trying to understand a new precinct's procedures. He even tried to use his faked law enforcement experience to build rapport with the arresting officer. His fantasy was so complete that even in the back of a patrol car, under arrest, a part of him was still playing the role of a cop. He was charged with felony unlawful possession of a firearm and criminal impersonation, his bail set at $50,000. In the end, Michael Scaletta's story is a profound look at the power of a uniform and the desperate human need for identity and respect. He poured immense resources, time and energy into constructing the facade of a man of authority and service. He acquired the gear, the vehicle, and the vocabulary of a police officer, meticulously crafting every detail of his false persona. He successfully deceived those around him for months, if not years, living out a fiction of heroism and duty. The very act he was convicted of, a bomb hoax, a crime of deceptive threat, ironically foretold his path of elaborate, dangerous fabrication. He had everything a cop needed: the gear, the car, the confidence, everything except the one thing that mattered: the truth.